Hey everyone, welcome to Jackalope Fire. I'm your host Cilla, and with me this week I have a very special guest. He's going to be my co-host for the week, and his name is Buddy. Say hello, Buddy. Yes, Buddy is my dog. I like to think of him more as a brother, though. Honestly, all of my dogs are kind of like siblings to me, in a weird kind of way. So anyway, Buddy's going to be joining me this week, and he's a dog of few words, but what he has to say is meaningful. So I think he'll have a lot of good content to add this week. First, I want to kind of go into why we've skipped a few weeks. We were doing pretty good there with doing one every single week, but we've gone, I want to say, about a month now without doing one. And there's a very good reason for that. Actually, two very good reasons for that. Reason number one, I got very sick. And if you can hear any background noise, kind of excuse it, as you might be able to tell by the unique background that I don't usually have behind me. I'm not at my house. Actually, house sitting, kind of call it mansion sitting, as big as this place is. I'm staying in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom guest house. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the main house is. Anyway, I digress. Point is, when a few weeks ago doing this, I got very sick. I won't go into all my symptoms, but long story short, I ended up getting diagnosed with liver disease. Now, as you may or may not know, I'm not a drinker. This is a non-alcoholic type of liver disease. I am from a family of alcoholics, the one that didn't drink, and I got liver disease. The irony is not lost on me. But it's been a long road. I'll write a little bit more in depth in the blog about how the liver disease has actually affected my life, but it has affected my life. Every aspect of my life has been affected. My whole diet's changed. My schedule's had to change to incorporate a fair amount of working out. It's been a lot of change. It's been a little bit difficult. I'm still kind of going through periods where I feel a little weak at times, but I am feeling much better than I was, thankfully. So I'm just kind of taking it one day at a time, trying to stay the course and make sure that I am going to be around for a long, long time. When a doctor tells you change your life or you'll die, that's damn good motivation. So I'm just trying to make sure I stay around. Now you may notice, in fact, since a co-host is my dog, I'm pretty sure you have noticed Chuck's not with me today. I wish I could tell you how Chuck is doing. Unfortunately, I haven't actually heard from him in a while. I got sick, and other than a couple of times of checking before I was diagnosed, he hasn't really called me or anything, so I don't really know how he's doing. I hope he's well, and I hope to hear from him soon. So there you go. That aside, we actually do have a lot to get into today. I know Buddy's chomping at the bit to just get right into it. Obviously, he's not joining me via video. I do have him on the phone, but he did get that great picture of him in front of his computer. So let's get right into it. Are you ready, Buddy? Good boy. Okay. So the first thing I want to discuss is something that I can't escape on Twitter, on any news site I go to. Pretty much anywhere you go now, you hear something about the Zimmerman case, and specifically the verdict. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because my opinion is really quite simple. Was it self-defense? Maybe. Was it not self-defense? Maybe. Only 2 people know for sure. That's Zimmerman and Trayvon. They are the only ones that know. Unfortunately, only one of them is here to tell the tale. We get one side of the story. The rest of it was up to the defense and the prosecution to piece together and get the jury to believe beyond a reasonable doubt or not, guilt or not guilty. Fact of the matter is, when you look at the case the prosecution presented, there just wasn't enough to convict on second-degree murder. Really wasn't enough to convict on manslaughter. They overcharged him. I think the jury did the right thing. I'm not saying that Zimmerman is innocent. I'm saying if I'd have been on the jury, I'd have voted not guilty too, based solely on what the prosecution did. They didn't have their case. My personal opinion, I think that they botched the case, because if you really look at it, prosecution never wanted the case in the first place. They didn't charge him until the public outcry. I don't think they really tried. That's just my opinion. Obviously, I don't know one way or the other. What do you think, buddy? No, you're absolutely right. You have to look at the facts presented in the case. And the facts presented in the case, when you don't look at the media spin on everything, there just wasn't the evidence to convict. What makes me really mad is everyone throwing out the race card, because regardless of everything else in the case, there was never an indication that there was any racial motivation behind this. Zimmerman saw a kid in a hoodie that looked out of place in his neighborhood. Was he right to follow him? Absolutely not. The police said back off. He should have backed off. That would have prevented this whole thing. There was no racial anything there. And if you want to talk racial profiling, you can't tell me you've never done it. If you were on an airplane and somebody of Middle Eastern descent got on the plane, would you not tense up just a little bit, even if you knew it was wrong? If you're walking down the street and a black person with baggy pants and baggy shirt that looks kind of street thug was walking behind you, would you not be a little more alert? It's not right, but the racial profiles exist for a reason. And we all do it simply it's built into us for safety. Once you know one type of person has been known to commit such and such crime, you tend to be more alert to that type of person. What's that, Betty? You're absolutely right. It exists in the dog community, too. Rottweilers are racially profiled, and for a good reason. And as we know, we had Jack, and he was a very gentle Rottweiler, but we were scared to death of him when we saw him for the first time, weren't we? Exactly. Racial profiling exists with people, with other species. It is what it is. Right or wrong, it is what it is. Again, it doesn't apply to this case. I don't think Zimmerman was racially profiling in this particular instance. I'm just saying racial profiling is something we all do. Hell, I'm half Mexican, and when I see Mexican that looks a little thugged out, maybe not clean or wearing real baggy clothes, I tense up, and that's half my heritage. So, it happens all around. I don't necessarily think it qualifies under racism. I think people are getting way too sensitive about the topic of racism these days. Exactly. Politically correct has become too politically correct. So that's my opinion on the Zimmer case, and that's really all I have to say. We don't know what happened, but I think the jury did the right thing given the facts they were presented. End of story. Moving on. Oh, okay. So I heard this story from San Diego Comic-Con, which is going on now, and I'm sure in the next episode I'll have a lot more to say about it. But one particular story has stood out for me, and that is that Stephanie Brown was mentioned again in a panel asked by... A question was asked at the DC Digital panel by the same fan that typically asks Stephanie Brown-related questions. And she typically dresses like Batgirl Stephanie Brown. Love her. Follow her on Twitter. Anyway, she asked about the recoloring of Stephanie Brown Little Gotham. And the question was dodged profusely, like they were scared to give a straight answer. I think Didio has actually made threats to the whole DC company to not answer questions about Stephanie Brown. That's the only thing I can come up with, because you ask anybody at DC a direct question on Stephanie Brown, and you get such dodgy answers, panicky dodgy answers. I don't know what Didio's threatened him with, but something. So, yeah, if you ask a question on Stephanie Brown, don't expect a straight answer. It's annoying, but it's been going on so long now that it's kind of funny too, honestly. Yes, I am a little obsessed with Stephanie Brown, Betty. This is not news. Okay. He has to listen to me talk about it all the time. Anyway, so I think that's pretty damn funny. Moving on, we have another story that's been in the news a lot recently. Corey, and I cannot pronounce his last name, do forgive me, but the guy on Glee played Finn, I believe. I don't watch Glee. I watched the episode with Matt Bomer, and that's the extent of my Glee knowledge. Anyway, if you have opened up any sort of news article or Twitter in the last week, you know who I'm talking about. And it's pretty much come out now that a mix of drugs and alcohol is what killed Corey, and that's not a shock. I think everybody knew from the second we knew about his death that it was going to be drug-related. He's had stints in rehab before. He's admitted that he's previously had drug problems. I understand the fans are sad. Of course, I feel for the family and for Leah Michelle, his girlfriend or fiance, depending on which report you believe. Regardless, they were together, and he was like the love of her life, and now he's gone, and that's very sad, and I'm sure she's heartbroken. And I certainly do have sympathy for the friends and the family and the loved ones that he left behind. I don't, on the other hand, have any sympathy for him. It's not a tragedy. It was barely short of suicide. I tend to, and I said the same thing when Amy Winehouse died. I have a hard time having sympathy for someone that dies due to drug abuse. Yes, addiction can take hold of you, but there is help. If you want to live, you get help. I think I have even less sympathy now that I'm dealing with liver disease. That involved a major lifestyle change on my part that I didn't want to make. And, I was definitely a comfort eater, so food was my crutch. And when it came down to you need to make a change or you're going to die, I chose life. And I really have little sympathy for drug addicts, knowing you're doing something that's going to kill you. Corey himself has said in past interviews that he was lucky to be alive. Knowing that, he still did it. there were steps he could have taken to stay clean, and he didn't. So I have no sympathy for him. Of course, I have sympathy for his loved ones that were left behind, because they were helpless to stop him, and surely they saw the path he was headed down. Leah Michelle stood by him when he went into rehab earlier this year, so she knew what she was getting into, and it had to be hard to see it. It's hard when you love someone to see them self-destruct, and this is obviously the mother of all self-destruction, is ultimately killing yourself with your vice. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not sad, buddy. I'm just saying that it's not a tragedy. You know, a kid that dies of cancer at age 6, that's a tragedy. The kid couldn't help getting cancer. But choosing to do drugs, that's not a tragedy. Me dying of liver disease, if I continued down the path I was going on, wouldn't be a tragedy, because I knew the risks of my behavior. Dying of something beyond your control is tragic. Dying because you were too stubborn to change your ways, not so tragic. And I have no sympathy for him. So that's where I stand on that issue. And it may sound cold, but at the end of the day, he chose this path, and now his loved ones are left to suffer. And that's all I got to say about that. Moving on. You may or may not have heard this one. This has been all over the news, but not as prolific, so I don't know if you've heard of this or not. The magazine Rolling Stone has put an image of the Boston bomber, the surviving one, on the cover of their magazine. There are several stores, CVS, several 7-Elevens, and some others, that are refusing to carry the magazine. Rolling Stone said they're just exercising their First Amendment right, freedom of the press and all that jazz. And they're right. They are right. Within the Constitution, they have done nothing wrong. However, it is also the rights of the stores to choose not to carry the magazine if they do not want to present that to their customers. It is the right of the public to disagree with what they have done with their magazine. And I disagree, not because he's on the cover of the Rolling Stone, which I find a little odd in the first place, because when has the Rolling Stone magazine been about journalistic integrity? I always thought of it as a music magazine. But if they want to go the journalism route, okay, fine. Put a picture of him on your cover. My problem with it is the way they portray him. It's a very reminiscent of a Jim Morrison cover. It makes the bomber look like a fucking rock star. And that's where I have the issue. Don't portray him in some grand light. Don't make him look like a rock star, someone to be idolized. No. The guy terrorized Boston. He set a bomb off. He killed people. He maimed people. No. This is not a guy to look up to like a rock star. If you're going to do it, use another picture. That's the only issue I really have with it. I don't think Rolling Stone is necessarily the magazine to do it. I would expect, Time or Newsweek or something like that to have a picture of him, but not Rolling Stone. I kind of expect to see Britney Spears or Keisha or somebody else on the cover of Rolling Stone, but that's just me. Again, my biggest issue is the way he's portrayed. If Rolling Stone would change the picture, I think there'd be a lot less outcry. I think a lot of people have issue with it for the same reason I do. So moving on, this was actually going to be my soapbox, but I have a different soapbox, so I'm just going to briefly mention this. The writer of Superboy has walked off the title. You may have noticed there's been a string of walk-offs where DC titles are concerned. I'm kind of I kind of am going to leave it at that. Writers are consistently walking off DC titles. You do the math. And if you want my advice, DC, fire Didio. Just saying. Okay, now my soapbox. This is something that I've kind of heard off and on for a while now. And it came to my attention again last night. And so I kind of felt the need to just say my piece about it. If you go onto YouTube, there are no shortage of videos that accuse the singer Keisha, I think her name's pronounced Keisha. Anyway, that accuse her of being Satan worshiper, devil worshiper. Pick your term. And she might be. I'm not saying she is. I'm not saying she isn't. I don't know her. I don't know. However, I think the reasons being presented as proof are ludicrous. They're pointing to the Illuminati imagery in the Die Young video, the upside down crosses, the upside down pentagrams that she's been seen wearing, and the song Dancing with the Devil, which I think they're taking way too low. The song Dancing with the Devil could very easily, if you look at it, it could very easily be symbolism for falling in love with the wrong man and feeling like you can't escape that relationship. If you look at it too literally, okay, sure. I don't think it's meant to be taken literally. As far as the other imagery, she's a pop rock star. She's trying to be shocking. She mentioned Jesus in one of her songs. So, does that suddenly mean that she's a Christian instead? I mean, I think that she's trying to have a shocking persona to get in the news, and it's working. And all of these people that are accusing her of being a Satan worshiper are feeding in exactly what she wants. You're giving her the press coverage she wants. I don't think she's a devil worshiper. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of hers by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like a lot of her songs. I think some of them have good messages, like Die Young, which, in my opinion, never should have been banned from the radio after the Sandy Hook tragedy. I know the title is Die Young, but that's not what it's about. It's about living your life like you're going to die young, like there's not a tomorrow. I think that's a great message. I think We Are Who We Are is a great message. I think some of her songs are just fun, like TikTok, Blow, Take It Off, fun songs. I don't care what religion she chooses to worship. That's her business, not mine. I think she's got some good songs, some fun songs, some good messages. And I think as long as people keep being shocked by potential Satanism, she's going to keep doing it, whether or not it's true, just to freak people out, because that's what she does. And honestly, knowing what little about her that I do know, I wouldn't be surprised at all if she's simply doing it for the shock value, and when people accuse her of it, she thinks it's freaking hilarious. So, that's all I'm saying. So, since Chuck's not here, we're going to have Buddy's choice today. Buddy, what is your choice? Okay. No, I don't disagree with you. I think that every dog likes peanut butter filled chewies. Yeah, no, if you have a dog, definitely try peanut butter filled chewies. You can find them at Walmart. Different brands of them. Buddy likes pretty much all of them, so give him a shot. Yeah, Buddy recommends them, and I'm sure your dog will love them too. So try peanut butter. Dogs love peanut butter. So now it's time for Flicks Picks. My first pick is How I Met Your Mother. My mom was out of town this week, so I was working out by myself, and I needed something to watch while I was on the treadmill. So I turned on How I Met Your Mother, and I've seen all those episodes so many times it's not even funny, but they're still so funny to watch. And it made working out go by really fast. So if you're just looking for a fun comedy that's totally rewatchable, How I Met Your Mother is the way to go. My next pick, I've picked this before, but I'm picking it again, and that's The Lying Game. It just got officially canceled. As you may know, I've been waiting very impatiently to hear if it was coming back or not. They left it on a cliffhanger, so I was so hoping for a third season. Unfortunately, that is not the case. ABC Family has decided to cancel it. So, in honor, I've made it my pick this week. If you didn't watch it, and since ABC Family is not renewing it, I'm assuming a lot of you didn't, go take a look and watch what you missed out on and helped in getting canceled. And my last pick is actually stand-up comedy. So we're kind of spanning all kinds of genres today. Lonzo Bowden, Who's Paying Attention? I watched this recently, and he is pretty damn funny. He was on. I found out about him from Last Comic Standing. I believe he was the winner of season 2 or 3. I want to say season 2. Anyway, he was one of the Last Comic Standing winners, and he's pretty funny. He's no Gabriel Iglesias, but he's funny. And on that note, it's time to go with Buddy's picks. And yes, Buddy watches a lot of TV, so he's got some picks. Go ahead. You do like Law and Order. That is, I think I see you watching Law and Order more than any other show. Yeah, Buddy likes his Law and Order, and he was very happy to see that it's on Netflix when I showed him. Okay, Buddy, next pick. I'm not surprised. He likes Bones almost as much as he likes Law and Order. Dog loves his crime drama. Let me tell you. Every time I walk in the house, he's watching Law and Order or Bones or Castle or something like that. He loves his crime drama. Okay, so Bones is your second pick. Good stuff. And your last pick. Okay, I didn't know you liked that one. His last pick is Psych. You're right, it's crime drama with some humor. That is right up your alley. You know, if you were a human, I bet you would be like Sean. Absolutely, I completely agree. He is you in human form. So, good picks. That's our show for today. I want to thank my special co-host, Buddy, for joining me today. Buddy, thank you so much. Oh, it was all our pleasure. Thank you. And as always, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, check out our site at jackalopesafari.com, send us some feedback. Let me know what you thought of Buddy's podcasting debut. Maybe he'll come back every now and again. I was happy to have him. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you for being patient with us. And for those of you that knew how sick I was, thank you for your well wishes. Buddy, would you care to say goodbye to everyone? Bye, everyone.